గౌరవనీయులు శ్రీమతి శాంతా సిన్హా గారు, మా కొలీగ్ డాక్టర్ కల్పన, డాక్టర్ సోమ్, డాక్టర్ సంజయ్ ఖాన్, మా రాజేంద్ర నగర్లో ఉన్న వేరే ఐసీఆర్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ డైరెక్టర్లు, సోర్గం నుంచి డాక్టర్ రావు గారు, రైస్ నుంచి డాక్టర్ రామ్, మా రిటైర్డ్ కొలీగ్స్ డాక్టర్ కేపీసీ రావు గారు, డాక్టర్ బాలగురు, డాక్టర్ చల్లా, శంకర్రావు గారు, వీరయ్య, మనం ఏదైతే క్యాంపస్లో ఉన్నామో యాంగ్రూ నుంచి వచ్చిన డాక్టర్ రమేష్ బాబు గారు, భారతీయ విద్యాభవన్ టీచర్స్, మేడం మాకు మీ పేరు తెలవదు, మీతో పాటు వచ్చిన మీ స్టూడెంట్స్, నా సహాధ్యాయులందరూ, farm labor, all invited press media officials, ladies and gentlemen. When we invited the madam, I thought there is something in the stock that she is definitely going to talk to her on child and women, because she is an academic. That is the area in which she works. So we were also introspecting that from the academy we also do a lot of work guiding ICR in terms of policy, especially with respect to education, technology transfer and agriculture research. To what extent these agricultural technologies that we are developing are either contributing to this or minimizing it or enhancing it. We are a bit concerned. Just now Dr. Shanta Sinha mentioned about what is happening in the cotton farms. If we look into the cotton farms, in the 80s, the labor is primarily a male domain. But with the advent of new technologies, the hybridization, you do emasculation, you do cross-pollination. Emasculation, you need a tender hands to pick the buds, open the petals, and then cover it. And this almost starts from the 2nd month, continues till 7th month. So what the farmers need is some kind of a tender hands available at the cheapest forms of the cost in the society. It's obviously the first preference goes to women, and the most preferred part is the children. If we look today into that, 80% of the entire child labor is in the agriculture sector. Now we always make a question, did we contribute to this? But with the advent of new technologies, the farmers' incomes have increased, the farm labor wages have increased, the opportunities for employment have increased. But the social dynamics is that now we come across research coming from the other system indicating that what is happening is that many people are withdrawing the children and putting for this type of labor. Now that is what is worrisome. To what extent our technology is contributing to this? It doesn't stop with the cotton seed production alone. The same story repeats with every aspect of agriculture what we are doing. You take into the perishables, horticulture, vegetables, the whole gamut of the processes are reserved, right from seed preparation, picking, packing, and post-harvest processes. Many of them are now reserved for women. And some of them, when we say reserved for women, and also go for child. Now, as I said, it depending on where the tenderness is required, cheapness is required, it automatically flows into the children. So the technology is indirectly contributing towards the women and child labor. Now, this has nothing to do with development. In fact, the child labor is more rampant where the development is more. If you look into these advanced states whose per capita income is high, agriculture development is high, these are the states where child labor is more. Incidentally, madam happens to be working in Andhra. Andhra naturally stands very high with respect to child labor. Andhra, Tamil Nadu, this is where the intensity of agriculture is high, especially with respect to the seed production, post-harvest processes. Now these are the concerns we also, when we are developing technology, these are not consciously planned, but these are happening. Now how do we look into when we are developing a technology, do we go that far And as I said again, these are not the studies carried out in the agricultural research and education domain. These are studies coming from social researchers like Shanta Sinha and others from other domains. But this gives us an opportunity to introspect. What is the best technology that we could have developed? But at the same time, you can't stop development. So now we are, madam, at the crossroads of this paradox: development, equity, and so-called women's empowerment. And agriculture is becoming more and more feminine. That is a fact. And if you go into the more details of that, everywhere you get it, it is a technology-induced feminization that is what is taking place. It brings development, and it also brings more and more people into the fold. Whatsoever the laws the country puts into, it is not going to affect. Where you enact a law, the negative impact of the law is much more severe than the practice that is there in place. We have a global experience on that. You try to put a ban on child labor, then possibly the child labor will be drifted into more other aspects of that are much more evil than what they were doing. And all government programs are not shielded. For example, we have NREGA. It is planned, implemented with the government support, where it has seen to that at least 30% are women, and the wages of men and women are equal. It's implemented well, but it's a public funded program and implemented by the public system. But when we talk of agricultural technologies, what we develop, it goes into the society, it goes to the corporate. MNCs are involved, national companies, small and big, are involved. Now they are indirectly contributing to this differentiation in terms of labor and in terms of also women and child engagement into that. The moment we make a development, automatically a kind of work segregation takes place. The works that are something to do with quality, the so-called phytosanitation, sanitations conditions, wherever you require quality, automatically that gets segregated to women, and is no doubt, no need to say that it is paid less, because the opportunity for male are much more in the rest of the society where the wages are a bit higher. Now, where do we stand in this dynamics? Though it is not the mandate of Indian Council of Agriculture Research, but at the same time, we would like to look into where we perhaps have a say, that possibly ICR looks into more of a human development, human production, at least like graduates. We were having about 35,000 students are taken in the country. If I look at in the early 80s, where the number of women graduates were less than 4%, invariably the studies both, not only in agriculture, doctors, engineers, scientists, in general the reports say that they were given soft jobs, they were given urban jobs. But today we have about 40% of the students are girls, and in some states it almost touches 60 to 70%. Now there is no job discrimination by gender, either by location or by gender. They just pick up the job and go. So this level of development has, that means we have crossed a threshold where the women are not segregated. Now there are no complaints also. But when it comes to the level that what you mentioned, adult level, that is at the 14 to 18 years age, that we have a concern. There are few agriculture schools that are offering the courses required for them, what we call as a certificate course or polytechnic diploma courses or vocational education. There are not many in the country. As I said, we have about intake for about 35,000 for graduate level, but when it comes to this level, it is much less. Only the state of Gujarat and Maharashtra to some extent have good number of agriculture schools, and there a number of those admissions are given preferential to the girls, but those two states are able to assimilate them and give it. But similar situation is not happening in the rest of the country. Now we are concerned that if the same level of expansion is to take place in the education, now what type of occupations they need to be given. Many of them are given in training in terms of like seed production, training in terms of preservation, post-harvest processes, and food preservation, food production, many of those aspects that are required, and they are taken either at 8th standard plus or 10th plus, 1 to 2 to 3 year certificate courses, diplomas are given to them. And there is a scope. The society demands 2 to 3 times the graduates number. There are that many jobs are available. Now, how do the system come out and what type of facilities are required to them? When it comes to the graduates in agriculture, at least ICAR has taken care in terms of at least infrastructure like hostels. They kept on providing the infrastructure, but the girls' intake rate has been rapidly increasing. The system is not able to really cope up with that. Now, when it comes to polytechnics and certificate schools, this is not heard of. This is a state subject. The conditions are nothing to speak good about them. So naturally, the girls' intake is much low in most of these agriculture and polytechnic schools. When it is a graduate, you talk about 40 to 60%, but when you come to these lower level schools where 14 to 18 age group are joining, that is below 10%. And once they complete, what type of jobs they do and what type of environment they go, what type of technologies they deal with. Now, perhaps this is where the academy comes into picture, because we try to guide the council in formulating the curriculum, in formulating the academic programs, and this is where right now country is at the crossroads, how to make further expansion of agriculture education at the lower level and how to integrate. A number of government departments are offering these education. Unlike a graduate education, which is totally under the domain of Indian Council of Agriculture Research, this lower level education is not only the subject of state agricultural universities. There are at least 19 odd government departments are included in that, like KVICs, state departments, and various central departments like Ministry of Food Processing and Industries, Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Textiles. A whole gamut of them are in the picture, and they also provide funding support for skill development in their respective areas. Now, all that constitutes broadly under agricultural and allied sciences. The integration is not there. Now, that's where possibly the academy also comes into picture. So when the occasion like this comes, the foundation day, we also reminisce what has been the role of the academy, what we have been doing in guiding the research and academic curriculum towards that, and what the research information that is coming from the rest of the systems, we try to assimilate, we do it. And Madam, your presentation just now, what you have expressed, either I should say a kind of a anguish or the facts that are there in the society, we too are concerned on the same lines, but how to go about. We cannot stop the technology development. That is badly needed. If the country is to progress at 7 to 8% economic growth rate, then you need to have agriculture sector contributing 4%, and technology development so far invariably demands, it is happening, there is a differentiation towards the wage, towards the nature of wage, towards a composition of people who are working in those sectors, and providing the employment and employment ambience in those sectors is far beyond the reach of an academic sector, or if for that matter even a research sector. But research sector can nevertheless take these views into the consideration before we mature a technology and making a move. Now, this sensitization has to come in the researchers, technology developers, and also technology transfer. Possibly that is where the academic has a key role to play, and try to sensitize the researchers and development officials on these dimensions. With these few words, I feel very fortunate to be here before my colleagues to share some of these concerns, and also having a lecture that is, as Madam said, is a dissimilar. It is not dissimilar. It is also required to our own future. That's where we see, that's where we link. Though we have not been working in that particular aspect of the social research, but that is what is required to the system, because or else in the years to come, now technology, with the advent of this globalization, what we have seen in the last 10 years is this. Where we are right now is purely technology driven for a decade. In the next 10 years, there's going to be more of infusion of biotechnology, nanotechnology, a lot of information technology infused into agriculture. All this is going to lead to the development. Now, how this is going to manifest in the society? Let's look into that. Let's look into the future systems that are likely to evolve and also help ourselves and our nation in order to bring a more pluralistic society which is more homogeneous and also compatible in terms of equity and empathy to all classes. With these words, I compliment all the colleagues who are here for this, having successfully completed 38 years of this academy. And on this occasion, I wish each one of you better chance to come in the future. Yes. Before I close, I would like to thank, though there is a formal vote of thanks from Kalpana, I would like to thank on my own behalf for Professor Sinha for having accepted our invitation and for coming and sharing this platform, and also again inciting a kind of a kindling and interest on their aspect of research towards development. Thank you.